So in today's video, we're going to see whether or not the Retroid Pocket 2 can be used to play Nvidia GeForce Now and kind of be a bit of a budget PC gaming device. So let's dive right into that, shall we, and explore whether or not it's a decent experience or if it's just god-awful like I was kind of expecting it to be. So the Retroid Pocket 2 is a great little emulator device and it works really well with some old school gaming. But a few people out there have been wondering whether or not you'll be able to do some cloud gaming, and quite a few of the messages we've had come through to us were asking about whether or not Nvidia GeForce Now works. This thing ships with Steam Link in it, so you'll be able to link it up to a local PC if you've got one in the house. But if you don't own one of those, or if you want to be able to play this on the go and be able to do some cloud gaming, then we decided we would explore that and see whether or not it works. Now, a few things right off the bat that worried me about this was the fact that we don't have any R3 or L3 buttons. These don't click in, unfortunately. And this sort of slide joystick, not going to be the greatest for that type of PC gaming. But if you're using less intensive games, then potentially it's going to be something that works. Another thing that worried me about this is the fact that it doesn't have any 5 GHz networking. So it has 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi built in. So that's going to obviously limit some of the gameplay capabilities as well. Now, to get this working, we had to download the Nvidia GeForce Now APK. So we sorted that out, found it, downloaded it, and installed it. And at first, I didn't think it was working, but it does actually work. Now, if you do go down this route and you try getting Nvidia GeForce Now working, you're going to probably run into the same thing that we did, where we just thought it was dead and the app wasn't actually loading. But it takes about 3 to 4 minutes every single time you try to start it up. So when you start it up, it'll sit there and it'll show the Nvidia GeForce Now logo at the top, and it'll show the search bar as well, but no games and no library or anything like that. For some reason, it takes forever for it to populate with things like your latest games and featured games, but eventually it does load, so you do need to be very, very patient with this. It's the same story as well for a lot of games. So we tried a few of those out. Some of them just wouldn't launch at all, no matter how long we waited. Some of them would get to the loading screen and then just kick us straight back out as well, so that wasn't ideal. But things like Valheim did load up and it was playable. Although I say playable very, very loosely there. When I say playable, when I'm playing something like Valheim on this, I was able to control it using all the controls on here and they worked as I expected them to. But as you can see from some of the gameplay video that we've got throughout this here, it's very, very sluggish. So I'd press one of the joysticks and it would take quite some time before my character would actually turn or for the camera to start panning around. And just everything was very, very delayed. The only thing that seemed to come through and stream correctly was the sound, so all the music and the volume and everything sounds pretty much like I was playing it on the PC version, but for whatever reason the controls just seemed so incredibly detached. Moving around wasn't too bad, but it was that camera moving and then turning my character and stuff, it just was so laggy. And if you try to play anything like a first-person shooter, it's absolutely not going to happen. Maybe some very casual gaming you might be able to get away with, but something like Valheim, when I was playing it just wasn't a playable or at all enjoyable experience. Now bear in mind, whenever I use Nvidia GeForce Now, I get a really good experience when I'm at home. I've got a very good connection, and even on Wi-Fi, things work exceptionally well. I do believe this is absolutely limited by the Wi-Fi chip inside of it, and just not having that 5 GHz makes it almost impossible. Which is a shame, because I love the idea of being able to plug in the mini HDMI out and then hook up a Bluetooth controller to this, because you can have a really good little emulator device that also does some really good budget cloud gaming. The other thing that we encountered whenever we loaded any games, and including the ones that worked, was actually kicking off a game or getting through any of the loading screens. It seemed to take forever. Something like Fortnite, for example, it took about 5 minutes on the loading screen before it launched into anything. And there again, I was able to navigate around, choose my game mode, and for whatever reason, it took forever before it got loading again. So it just isn't a pick up and play type experience. It's one of those things you'd have to kind of start your game loading, walk away from it, come back, and then play it again later, which just defeats the purpose, especially if you're on the free tier of Nvidia GeForce Now. You're probably going to run out of time before you can actually play it on this thing. So to sum up, does Nvidia GeForce Now work on something like the Retroid Pocket 2? And the short answer is yeah. It works, but is it playable? No, absolutely not. This is not going to be the device you want to be using for your cloud gaming, simply because of that Wi-Fi chip built in. There might be some other little things in there that we could tinker around with, but it's just not a great experience. The lack of the L3 and R3 is going to rule out some type of gaming, and then just the poor internet Wi-Fi connection on this is just, it makes it a no-brainer not to use it for that. We're going to have another video where we try out Steam Link just to see whether or not that's any better, but from what I can tell so far, it's probably not going to be a great experience. Now, unfortunately, this port on top here, which is the USB-C for charging, is literally purely for charging. When I've tried it with different docks and dongles, it just bricks the device and keeps it in a boot loop. So if you were thinking that maybe you could use this as a bit of a, I guess, a desktop thing where you have it plugged into a monitor with a Bluetooth controller connected and then have an Ethernet cable plugged into this through an adapter or a dock, that gets completely ruled out straight away there as well. So that's something else that we tried to see if we could get it running, and nope. Alas, unfortunately, it did not work. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and we're going to be having more Retroid Pocket 2 content coming up in the future, and obviously some more Nvidia GeForce Now content coming as well. In the meantime, hit that subscribe button because it really helps the channel to grow. It means that you don't miss out on any more of our awesome content in the future. In the meantime, stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye.